Welcome back. You're still watching Metropole Television, but most certainly business. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Find us online at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Use hashtag business. Let's get this conversation running this morning. Now, the Kenya Plastics Pact, KPP, on October 7th, launched an ambitious new collaborative initiative aimed at tackling plastics waste and pollution in the country. Now, the initiative will bring together stakeholders across the plastic value chain to create a circular economy for plastics. Now, joining us this morning to talk about the pact and how this will create an economy circular and bring together businesses, governments, the researchers, and even the informal waste sector players is Josephine Wawira, who's a communications officer, sustainable inclusive business at KEPSA. Josephine, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Whenever you talk about plastic, everybody does know that that's the biggest challenge to the environment for developing and developed economies as well. How far are we as a country when it comes to our plastic waste management?
Now, we have to admit that Kenya, like any other country,
yes.
Most of them, like you said, both in developing and developed world, some of the countries have managed to deal with this issue. However, Kenya is still among those that are still grappling with plastic pollution in
yes.
the country. And the COVID situation has not made it any easier because we have increasingly, at least for the last 2 years, been using at high volumes, sanitizers that are in plastic bottles and PPEs also that, for instance, the disposable masks, single
yes.
use to be specific. Now, the other thing is that we also generate a lot of solid waste as a country. We are talking about 22,000 metric tons per day countrywide. And if we look at Nairobi alone, we are talking about 2,700 per day in terms of tons. And 30% of this in Nairobi is either plastic or paper waste yes. that can be recycled into other forms of products. However, the sad thing is that we are saying about 92% of this waste, that is plastic, of the 30% plastic and paper, is still on the landfills, or it's being incinerated, or it's just lying somewhere, on the environment, yes. unfortunately. So only about 8% of this waste is recycled. And, data, for instance, from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation shows that if we continue at this rate, the unfortunate case is that by 2050, we might be seeing more plastic in the oceans than we see fish. And that is a sad story. If imagine your children or your children's children trying to go to the oceans to have a look at the fish that we so much enjoy,
yes.
but the only thing that they can come across are plastics. So it is now more, relevant than ever that we all come together as stakeholders in the plastics value chain to change this story before it's too late.
Yes.
And then again, we also have to agree that as a country, we have made major milestones towards dealing with this issue. We have to look at the ban on the plastic carry bags yes. countrywide. Mm-hmm. The ban on single-use plastics in protected areas in the country. We have to appreciate initiatives like the draft extended producer responsibility that is now under, development. And like you said, now we have the Kenya Plastics Pact, which is very timely. And I look forward to, talking more about that as well.
Pretty much, which brings me to that conversation. That's the Kenya Plastic Pact, KPP, which was launched on October 7th. Who is behind this, and what are we saying? Are we saying that we are now starting the conversation now for the active members who are in the value chain for the very first time?
So the Kenya Plastics Pact, yeah, it's we are going to almost a month now since we launched. It's 7th just the other day. It was a very auspicious occasion for us. The Kenya Plastics Pact is being developed and implemented by the Sustainable Inclusive Business, which is the knowledge center under the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and that is KEPSA. KEPSA is the umbrella body of the private sector in the country. And so we have not done this on our own. We have support from RAP. It's a UK organization.
Yes.
We also have support from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. We have support from MAVA Foundation, and we have a DEFRA and also FCD from the UK government. So in terms of funding and bringing on board resources. That being said, the Kenya Plastics Pact is a local solution for a local problem.
Yes.
So it is, developed and created to tackle a problem that we own as Kenyans. So it's a local solution for, something that we all agree that we are facing as a country. And for this reason, the membership of the Kenya Plastics Pact is, brings together the government of Kenya, supported by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, businesses in the plastics value chain, that is the private sector. So we are talking of producers, we are talking of importers and exporters of plastic. As long as you come into contact with plastic, whether you're bringing it into the system or into the market, we are talking of retailers who deal or who sell the plastic itself. We are talking of you and me as the consumer of plastic. We are talking of the recyclers who are now on the solution side already. And we are also talking of the informal waste sector, because for a long time, this is a sector that has been sidelined, that has come as an afterthought when it comes to conversations around the Kenya, the plastics issue, yeah?
Yes.
But if we are to look at achieving a circular economy for plastics, for once, let's be clear that achieving a circularity or circular economy is not just about recycling, as it is often confused by a lot of people. Circularity or circular economy involves a lot more than just recycling. It starts from rethinking the models that we use, rethinking how, for a long time we have produced plastics that are not recyclable. So how about we change that model? We change that, we rethink how we can now recreate, and reproduce plastics that can be, recyclable and easily put back into the system. Because the Kenya Plastics Pact aims to create a circular economy for plastic in which it never becomes waste or pollution. So it is put back into use in the ecosystem and not into the environment. It is currently the situation.
Yes.
Because we have been operating in what we call a linear economy, where we take, we make, and then we dispose. Where does it go? People think that when you throw away a plastic bottle or a sweet wrapper, that it has, an away that it goes to. But there's never an away.
It doesn't, isn't it?
There's never an away.
Yes.
It goes somewhere. It goes to, to the environment. It goes to a road. It ends up in the rivers.
Yes.
Look at Nairobi River, the situation that we have. It ends up in the ocean. So why don't we ditch that throwaway culture and say we can take back what we throw in the environment and put it back into the system to recreate and to reproduce other products or the same products, yeah? But how do we achieve this? Is first, as a producer, we rethink how we now produce plastics that are, coming into the environment. And then we also take responsibility for the products that we put into the environment up to the until where they come to the end of their life cycle.
Yes.
And this is where the EPR, the extended producer responsibilities, come into play, and it will be complemented by the Kenya Plastics Pact, because the Pact brings on board targets that are going to guide us towards achieving a circular economy for plastics.
Pretty much. So now, for anybody listening and hearing you talking about the KPP, are we now on a policy level? Is that what we are doing in this pact? Are we therefore laying the policies that are supposed to guide us on how we are supposed to act to achieve the circular economy when it comes to plastic use in the country, owing to the fact that indeed there is the cognizance of the fact that we are very far from achieving what other developed economies have done, especially when it comes to the plastic usage.
Now, when you talk about policy,
yes.
Let's agree that the government has done an incredible job when it comes to, you know, policy implementation in terms of plastic waste management. Yeah?
Yes. Are we saying that the policy on plastic waste management in the country exists?
They exist.
So what has not been going on is just putting this policy into action.
That's the thing. You know,
yes.
for you and I, as we speak today, for a long time, we have complained of what the past generations have been doing to our environment.
Yes.
We have over and over and over again spoke about the problem. But have we taken action to deal with this problem? That is what we are saying. So more than ever, now is the time for us to put action to the conversations that
yes.
have been going on. So the policies are out there. We have the Kenya Plastic Waste Management Policy and Bill. We have the extended producer responsibility coming into play now.
Yes.
But will these policies, you know, work on their own? Because policy is something that is on paper. It's agreed that this is how, or this is the path that we should take as a country. But how do we implement this? We need the expertise. We need the resources.
Yes.
We need to mobilize, you know, the stakeholders. And this is where the Kenya Plastics Pact comes to play, because it now brings these stakeholders from across the value chain, and no one is being left behind, including, like I said, the informal waste sector for a long time has been sidelined.
Yes.
So when we talk about the Kenya Plastics Pact, we are not just having conversations, because the conversations have been there. The talk has been there.
And the policies are there.
And the policies
yes.
are there. So
yes.
it's now time we start acting. And the actions will be guided by the 4 targets that are going to be achieved by 2030. All right, so we have 4 targets set for the Kenya Plastics Pact, which identifies the pact as an ambitious pact.
Yes.
First of all, it's the second in Africa after the South African Pact, and then it's the 12th in the world. And unlike other initiatives in the plastics issue, the Kenya Plastics Pact has targets, because for a long time, what makes initiatives not go to the very end of their implementation is at some point they lose the direction in which they intended to go, because they're not guided by some set targets or set goals.
Yes.
So the Kenya Plastics Pact, KPP, has 4 targets, and number 1 is to eliminate problematic and unnecessary plastic. So we are not saying that plastic is entirely bad, because remember, there's a reason why it is produced in the first place.
Yes.
It's easy to use, it's affordable, and it's also light. Yeah, so there's a reason why it's there. But do we need all of it? What do we need and what don't we need? What you in your house, do you need a plastic bottle for water? You need a recycled bottle or refillable bottle that you can go and refill and take your water wherever you are, yeah? Do you need plastic spoons? How many times have you ordered food online and then they bring you plastic spoon that you just, take and, dispose of in your dustbin, because after all you have the kawaida spoons that you can use here, right? So what do we need? What is necessary and what is unnecessary, what
yes.
is problematic
yes.
and what is not problematic. So once we eliminate that, then we go to target 2, ensuring that 100% of all plastic is recyclable or reusable in the country by 2030.
Yes.
All right? But remember, like I said, there's the issue of having policy and actually implementing that policy. So even if we say that 100% plastic is recyclable or reusable, we have to ensure that by 2030, 40% of that plastic is actually being recycled. So there's a difference between saying, okay, fine, it's recyclable, but are we recycling it?
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
So 40% is actually being recycled. And then the 4th and the last target is to ensure that we have 15% of recyclable plastic packaging across the country.
Yes.
Yeah? The plastic
yes.
content, yeah.
When somebody listens to those targets and then you have a timeline on them by 2030, somebody's going to ask you, is it an overly ambitious project? Because when it comes to understanding the problems that are facing the economy, especially when it comes to even waste management, we have barely scratched the surface. 2030 is not very far away.
No.
And someone is going to ask you again, I mean, even on the challenges of single-use plastic in the country when it comes to packaging, we still are fighting those right now, even as the government is at the forefront fighting this single-use plastic in the country. Are we saying that it's actually achievable? But then what must happen for us to achieve this by 2030?
All right. So yeah, and we don't deny it. Actually, if you look at the definition of the Kenya Plastics Pact, like you read there, is that it's an ambitious initiative.
Yes.
But yeah, the reason why we went with those targets is because we have looked at the situation and we are saying, if we come together, this is an actually achievable project. Yeah. And achieving something even in life, the saying goes, if you want to go far, you know, go together, but if you want to go fast, you know, go alone. So this is why the Kenya Plastics Pact is not a one-man show. It brings everybody to the table, because to achieve a circular economy for plastic, everyone has a role to play, from the government to the private sector to the informal waste sector to the consumers, the citizen, you and I. We all have a role to play. And the reason why this far it has been such a big challenge for the country and for the nation, you know, for the region as well, is because we have always looked at what the other person is doing. We have always expected, no, that's the responsibility of the producer, or that is the responsibility of the retailer, or that is the responsibility of the person who collects that waste. But what is your responsibility? How about we start now looking at what we can do together to achieve a circular economy for plastic? And remember, like I said, circular economy is not just about recycling. In any case, recycling comes at the end of the loop. So there's all these other aspects of, you know, innovation. You know, we have to be innovating. If country, Kenya is one of the most innovative nations in the region. We have a generation that is tech savvy, that thinks outside the box. So what can we achieve if we come together on the table? That said, we also have, you know, set ways in which we aim to achieve these targets. Number one is to draw a roadmap. And the Kenya Plastics Pact, at the time of the launch, had 29 members, you know, signed up, and two types of memberships. One, the paying membership of, you know, the businesses that are dealing with the plastic directly, and the supportive membership. So those are people who believe in this vision, but although they don't deal with the plastics directly, they are going to support in terms of, you know, sharing their expertise, in terms of research, in terms of implementation of projects, to ensure that we achieve these targets. So together, as all the members of the Kenya Plastics Pact and the supporters of the Kenya Plastics Pact will draw a roadmap. So we say in between the launch time, which is 2021 to 2030, like you said, it's not far. But if we are guided by a roadmap, these are the steps that we need to take, then it becomes more clear, it becomes more achievable. The second thing that we are going to do is create, you know, projects, solution-based projects and initiatives that are going to be implemented on the ground. So either on the members level or at the pact level, and then we say these are the projects that we are taking out. For instance, we have a project called the Coast Project. It's called Creating Opportunities and Alleviating Poverty Through Sustainable Trade, that we have piloted at the coast. It's ironical, it's called Coast, and yet our first pilot was at the Coast region, in Mombasa, a place called Tudor. It's an informal waste sector. And we have trained 100 youth and 100 women, in total over 200 people at the Tudor informal waste sector, to create value from waste, because we say taka ni mali, waste is value. So we have, you know, educated them on, you know, how to better manage waste and how to create a sustainable income from waste. waste. You know, things that you saw as invaluable to creating something that can actually put food on your table. And businesses have been created from that. And for now, for instance, we have a group that is, you know, recycling waste paper to notebooks that they are selling from the same training. So such initiatives, such on-ground projects, because remember I said everyone has a part to play, yeah? And then we're also training and creating awareness on separation of waste at source. At that big amount of volume of wastes that we are creating,
yes,
the biggest challenge is that we don't separate waste. Everything goes into the same bin. Yeah. So if we start separating waste at source and saying, put your you know, wet waste here, put your solid you know, dry waste here.
Yes.
So the organic food, for instance, we have companies like Synergy that are, you know, recycling or turning, you know, organic or, you know, human waste to organic fertilizers.
Yes.
Others are turning, you know, food waste into energy. Others, you know, there's so much going on, but we need to highlight these good practices and initiate similar or other projects in the same. And this is the other way that the Kenya Plastics Pact is going to achieve the targets, through projects, yeah? Solution-based projects.
Yes.
It's not just about the talk.
Yes.
The other way is that we are going to track progress. So on an annual basis, members will individually report on the progress that they have made to achieve, because they have all committed to the 4 targets towards 2030. So on an annual basis, they will individually report on the progress that they have made. However, as the Kenya Plastics Pact, we are not going to announce those results on an individual member's basis.
Yes.
We will tabulate the data and create one single report and say, as a country, through the Kenya Plastics Pact, this is what we committed to achieve. This is how far we have come. These are the challenges that we have made. We think that these areas will need more investment.
Yes.
We think that these areas will need more infrastructure to achieve the targets. What can we do to achieve the 2030 targets? Because then we keep track with data, all right? We will also look for funding, you know, to bring together funding both internally and externally.
Yes.
Because one of the other challenges that I said, even in the recycling industry, is that, you know, businesses come up, but there's no infrastructure and there are no resources to scale these projects. So by bringing in investment into the country and into these projects, we ensure that they actually scale. And then lastly, but not least, is sharing the knowledge that we gain nationally, regionally, and also internationally.
Pretty much. In just 45 seconds, on a personal level this morning, because we're saying this fight has to be done by everybody. It's not a manufacturer, it's not a retailer. What can I do so that I'm part of this vision 2030 in terms of achieving this circular movement of plastic in the economy?
All right. You see, at the end of the day, I say, you may not have $1 billion idea or $1 billion project, or you may not do something that is going to change the whole world overnight. But your small action, my small action, everybody's small action, when combined, they create a big impact.
Yes.
That you may not actually know. It is about changing your mindset in the first place. If you go on, you know, and buy your water bottle on a daily basis, and you can actually buy one single bottle that is refillable, and then you continuously refill it and reduce the amount of plastic bottle that you purchase.
Yes.
Right? It's about walking into a supermarket, buying a chocolate for your, you know, energy boost in the afternoon after a show like this. But how many times have you seen someone toss that paper on the road? Yeah? How about you carry your waste until you can safely dispose it? You know, it's about putting your waste separately, and we say we have a responsibility to protect the planet because this is our home and we don't have any other, well, until further notice.
Pretty much. Can't say it any better. This morning, we were in conversation with Josephine Wawira, who's the Communications Officer, KEPSA, Sustainable Inclusive Business. Are you part of the fight? You gotta be, because she's saying it's not the big people that you're thinking about. It's not the big corporations or the big business are you thinking about? It's got to start with you. If you're complaining, then do something about it as we move forward to 2030. Hopefully, we shall be there. We take a short break. Once we come back, your economic review, talk on that. Should we bail out Kenya Power and KQ? Once we come back.